Hey there, how y'all doing this fine morning? This is Data here, crossing the Fontana Dam right in the middle of the road because since they're working on it, it's shut down to traffic. I think this is the largest dam in the eastern half of the United States. There's the power plant on the lower side of the dam. And then because there's no traffic, I can walk down the street or across it or whatever. It's kind of unique. There's Fontana Dam itself. Somebody out on a power boat already this morning. It's about 9:30. I'm only headed to campsite 113, which is 6.5 miles basically straight up. But I ought to be able to get there by 1 or 2, something like that, hopefully. There's rain. That is where I'm hiking later on today, but I'm not sure. The first mile and a half out of the Fontana Dam Visitor Center is a road walk right now because they've got the Fontana Dam road access shut down for some construction project. And after a mile and a half, there's a little parking lot that folks who normally pick you up and drop you off at. And here is the start of the trail itself at this point. And now, I see that campsite 113, which is my destination for the day, is only 4.5 miles ahead. Here's the AT through hiker permits box, but it's stuffed full. More importantly, I'm not a through hiker. I'm a section hiker technically because I applied for that kind of permits, but also I didn't start 50 miles south of the park and I'm not hiking 50 miles north of the park. So that's why I had to make reservations at the shelters and campsites. So I'm 1 hour into the day and I've gone 2.3 miles, which, given that a bunch of it was pretty steeply uphill, is really good. But I need to slow down a little bit. So I stopped to take a break, only to realize that I needed to do a miniature pack explosion because I had left all of my electrolyte drink mixes buried down in my food bag halfway through my pack. So I've done that. I fished them out, put the pack back together. But that was a rookie mistake there. So now so far, and I'm also high enough up now that the air is cooler, the temperature's dropping, because as you climb in altitude, of course, the temperature goes down a little bit. So that's nice. And you can see the sun is out, so the threat of afternoon rain is still on my mind, but it's not, at least at this point, it doesn't look like it's going to come earlier than it was expected. So with any luck, I'll reach campsite 113 ahead of schedule and be able to get my camp set up before that rain comes in. And then, so I met a ranger who's responsible for this part of the park. She was headed up to campsite 113 where I'll be tonight. I'm about 2 hours in, so I'm due for a little brief pack-off break, some hydration, maybe some food. Because this climb has been legitimate here. There are some flat spots where I get a chance to catch my breath. But next one of those I get to, I'm going to set this old pack down and hydrate a little bit. Oh, just a little while after that, probably a 3.5 mile mark, right on along the side of the trail, there's this nice sitting rock and a place to prop up your pack and rest for a bit. So I am going to take a little pack off break here. I think I'll leave the shoes on for now. But, well, that's the end of a 10-minute break. I sat down for a while and had a protein bar and hydrated a little bit. It's 11:40. I'm headed this way. I did run across a couple of other day hikers, young guys who live locally who are hiking up the Shuck Stack. There's a major trail intersection. I'm headed to the left towards Gregory Bald Trail, although really I'm headed up to campsite 113. But there are, looks like, 3 other trails that intersect right here. Well, right there just through the trees you might be able to pick out my Durston. It's about 3 o'clock. I got here about an hour ago. I did those things in order like I am learning to do. At least I think this is the right order. I picked out a campsite. I fetched a water supply from the water pipe that's here. It's flowing very nicely. It was a pretty easy place to get water. Then I set up the tent and got everything laid out and hung my hiking clothes up after I changed into my sleepwear and camp clothes. And then at this campsite there's a separate fire ring, which is where I'm at now, which is right here. So I'm going to sit here and cold soak my dinner and eat a little bit early. And you might see there's a set of bear cables right there. You can kind of just see one of them shiny. And then there's another set that's over here that don't show up quite so well on the camera, I don't think, but I walk right past them on the way to my tent. So I'm going to hang my whole pack. In fact, that's why I brought this up here. As I came into camp, the ranger that I met earlier, but very nice, a ridge runner and a ranger, very informative, said that when she got here to inspect the camp about an hour before me, she had to chase a bear off. She said it wasn't hard. She was just singing and saw the bear and yelled at it, hey bear, and it ran off like bears should do. So this was a bear that was still wary of humans and evidently not thinking of the sight of a human as a chance for a food reward, so that's good. She warned me that further up in the park, the bears have become food conditioned and they're more of a problem, which is why they had to close shelters up there more than they did down here. This is just a beautiful campsite. It's down in a little cove. There's no privy. So you have to dig a cat hole, but I think that's true throughout the park in about half the shelters. But there's a really good water source, and there's this fire pit and eating area. That makes it a little bit like some of the campsites along the CDT and I think the PCT, where you have an eating area that is very far away from the camping area so that you don't food habituate bears, which is also why I'm going to hang my whole backpack with my food bag in it, just to get anything that might have any smell up out of my tent. It was a very good day hiking. I was tempted to hike onto Molly's Ridge and ask that ranger when I saw her to change my reservation, and she probably would have helped me with that, but I decided that I would go ahead and just stick to my plan. So it's kind of, well, it turned out that it was a really good thing that I decided to stay with my original plan and stop and pitch my tent here at campsite 113, which I think is called Birch Creek Camp, but it's campsite number 113. It's a good sign because I used my Garmin device about an hour ago to get a weather update that's very geolocation specific, and it said that about 6 o'clock or so there was like a 70% chance of a thunderstorm. Now that's the thunderstorm that, you know, they've been hinting at all day long on different forecasts, but they're not as precise because you're in the middle of the park. It's pretty precise. But the Garmin is pretty precise to your location. So they said, 6 or 7 o'clock right in there, 70% chance of rain. So I had the tent pitched already when I got that update, and as you can hear, Garmin was right on the money. It's not raining real hard, but my Garmin is sagging a little bit because I didn't do a really good job on the pitch. This particular tent spot is a little bit like this in terms of angle, so the Durston doesn't do as good at staying taut. It's still a fine pitch, it'll hold up well, it's holding its shape, but it doesn't do as well at keeping the roofline taut and the sides taut when the lot's not level. So right at my ridge line, it's kind of sagging a little bit. My head's kind of brushing it a little bit right here. You can kind of see it's not straight across, more like it would normally be. But it doesn't really seem to matter. This is the first time I've had the Durston out in real, pretty real rainstorm, the X-Mid, and it's doing a good job. It's interesting, I may try to focus the camera on this a little bit, but the rain just seems to bead up on it and roll off, and you can sit and watch it. So it's kind of mildly entertaining with nothing else to do in the middle of a rainstorm. And again, it's 6 or so, and I've eaten. I've hung my backpack with my bear bag in it and my pack cover on it on a bear line, so if it doesn't rain too fierce, my pack ought to stay pretty dry. And my clothes are dried out, and I'm about ready to call it a night. I've reviewed my plan for the next week, and it does turn out that today is actually the biggest single climbing day of the whole hike through the Smokies. The climb up from Fontana is a net to this location is a net gain of like 4,000 feet. It's maybe 3,800 feet, something like that. It's about a 5% grade all the way up on average. So it was I'm glad I took my time about it, and I'm glad I just hiked to this campsite and then stopped. I felt pretty good. I mean, I had some problems with my feet over the last couple of days because they got sopping wet. I had the onset of what I thought might be something like trench foot, where my feet were waterlogged the day that it rained, and then they were waterlogged the whole next day while I was still on trail. And so they were itching and burning and uncomfortable. But I put some lotion on it that I got from the folks at Glorious Stays, and I read up online and talked to Mrs. Data about it. Got some advice on sleeping with my socks off, which I'm going to do again this evening, actually, now I thought of it, just to let my feet air out and let them dry out completely. And today I didn't have any problems with them. I lost a toenail this morning. I don't like to video that stuff because I think that's kind of gross, but I did. The big toe on my left foot, big toenail on my left foot fell off. It's been kind of banged up for a while, so it didn't surprise me too much. But I'm not having cramps this evening. I've been doing the exercises that I learned from Scott at Glorious Stays, who's a chiropractor and has some other training in helping people with this kind of thing. I haven't seen that bear she saw at all. I've been hollering and making noises, making sure he doesn't forget that there are humans here. But she said he was pretty human adverse, so I don't think I'll have to worry about that bear this evening at all. I do have my air horn with me in case that changes. So tomorrow is a longer day. It's like 11.5 miles, but it's not as much climbing, and it's a lot of up and down. It's basically like 3 pretty good sized climbs. They're all about 800 feet apiece. So in total, it's less climbing than I had today. And it's more distance, but since I'm in a campground, I don't have to get shuttled to the start point. I should be able to get up and out of here by 6:30 or 7:30 or something like that. Still make it to the Spence Field shelter by about, hopefully, 5 or so. There's a privy there, and there's a water source there, and there's a couple of other water sources on the way. That's all the underneath side of water droplets that are beaded up on the outside of my Durston Dyneema tent. So I found that very interesting as it started happening. The water just beads up on it and rolls right off. Here's my campsite setup at Birch Creek Campsite, campsite number 113 in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Durston fans will note that it's kind of a wonky pitch. That big bow in the middle of the top of it, and the top ridgeline really shouldn't be there, but if I hold the camera level, you can kind of see that the site is not level. Where I have a rock sitting to the right on the edge of it is an attempt to compensate, but it doesn't do that real well. It's still fine on the inside, but it's kind of a wonky looking pitch. Nice thing about this campsite is there are two other people here now. You can't even hardly see them. That's how much privacy we have. They're back there in an orange tint that doesn't even really show up on the camera, I don't think. Anyway, we spoke across the gorge when they first came in. Haven't seen them since. They've been setting up camp and things. The water source is right down here where these busted and fallen logs and trees are. Straight below me there's a big steel pipe. This is a very nice campsite for folks who hike in the Smokies or on the Appalachian Trail. So happy trails to each of you.